Okay, we're starting directly, so not to waste time.
Directly.
Okay, let's start with a small disagreement that I have with you. In one of the interviews, I think it was published on the publisher house's site, you say that this is probably your first proper novel, but I would disagree a little bit. I think it's all your major works make, and they're organic part of the same meta novel that you're writing. Probably the one that your alter version and Solenoid will burn in the end. So they're made of the same star stuff. They ask the same devastating existential questions. What are your arguments to see it differently from your other works?
No, it was only a joke.
Okay.
It was only a joke.
Well.
I meant that this is my first book based on epic, on pure epic, on stories, on the proliferation of stories, which doesn't happen in my previous books, or not at this scale, just because most of them were existential, metaphysical, even I would say theological books like Solenoid or like Blinding or Vitor. This time I tried to do something quite different, to reflect the world in a river of stories, in a way. This is why I just inferred that this is much more a novel than my previous works that are more like poems or like essays. So the epic substance is what would make the difference between my previous books and this one. But not even this is true, because this importance that I give to stories and to myths and to epic developments was present at least in one of my previous books, which is called The Levant. I don't know if it's translated into...
Levant, sau Levantia.
Тя не е преведена.
Не, това абсурдно да се преведе. Това е
по-модерна
поема
which is also very epic, and it takes place also in the 19th century and so on. There are some similarities between them.
So we have a different point of view here. It's not so autofictional. Of course, there are always the big human topics. But would you say then, I heard you in a way that, would you say that what led you was just the simple joy of storytelling, of myth inventing? Yes?
Well, it's the joy of storytelling,
like,
and
1001 Nights, like,
and the joy of inventing all the time, of the joy of fantasy, the joy of creating worlds, whole worlds that interfere, like the cogwheels of a clock, for example. So my most recent book is different and is not so different from my usual writing. I wrote it the same I did with all the others. So I just started writing one day and never stopped till the end, without making any editing, without much preparation, without a previous plan. Till the middle of the book, I didn't know where I was heading. I didn't even know that actually the angels told the story. So I was in a way confused, and in other way hyper lucid about what I was going to make. Of course, this time I didn't write by hand, like I wrote Solenoid and Blinding and other books of mine. I typed the book.
Oh.
Yes,
Really?
it's not. It was not written by
I
hand.
can't imagine.
And
Sunt de ore cu pишете многовите книги за това.
Of thousands,
Всичко
of
пише на
hundreds
ръка,
of
прозата,
pages.
да.
my latest two books are written on the computer, just because I'm not so good at writing anymore. At writing by hand, I make mistakes. I don't know why. Maybe because of the age or because of some neurologic things. So I get very angry when I make mistakes and I have to erase words and so on. So this time I prefer to type.
Okay, in the so-called alternative universe of Solenoid, let me take you one book back. Your literary career there is just cut at the core when you read this poem. And there your alter ego says, exactly because I'm not a writer, I have something to say. What concept of writing do you oppose to simply inventing fiction, like he says, to simply drawing doors on walls? What other concept you value against this?
I don't believe in only one kind of literature. Literature is infinite. You can write in many ways. You can be yourself by being a realistic writer, or by being a fantastic writer, or by being an archetypal writer, and so on. In my writing, there are lots of possibilities, and I enjoy surfing on all of them, on most of them, as many as I can. You might know that I started by writing poems, and I wrote, if I'm not wrong, 8 books of poetry till now, and that could have been a complete experience from my point of view. So if I only wrote poetry, I think I would have been very pleased. But it happened that I had, when I was young, I had very good friends who wrote fiction, who wrote novels or stories. They were in a literary circle. I attended that circle, and at a certain moment I wanted to give them a sort of a gift. And I started to write fiction too, just to read in that circle, not for publishing. And they liked my first stories, which are published in Nostalgia, and they encouraged me to go on. There were some of the best minds of my generation, as Allen Ginsberg would say. So this is the way that I wrote my first stories, my very first stories, which I collected in Nostalgia in around 86. I think they are written around 85, 86, and I published Nostalgia in 89, in a few years. And then I understood that there were things that I could only express in fiction, in prose. So I kind of gave up poetry for a while, for 30 years actually, and I concentrated to write novels. And talking about this, it's important to tell you that in my mind there was an emergency to fulfill a very big project, which could be expressed like the mapping of my brain. the complete mapping of my brain.
Tattooing actually is the word that he uses.
Yes.
And just to put in something, you speak of it as an escape plan, and that writing always should answer a question. That's what I actually meant by was it an escape plan for you? You still see it this way?
It was a sort of an escape plan, but for really escaping, I needed to map my cell, the cell where I was confined. So I dedicated about maybe 35 years only to this plan, which includes Travesti, a short novel which was extremely important for me, because in Travesti I understood that I could really do prose, I could really do fiction, the fiction that I wanted to do, a fantastic one. And after Travesti, I started to write my big novels, Blinding, which is still my best work ever, in my opinion, and it's a sort of a plane carrier of my modest fleet, in a way. And then I went on with Solenoid, which is sort of a will, a testament. I think I said in Solenoid everything that I wanted to say about life and meaning and everything. And this was a very big project, including my more important books of short stories and novellas, Nostalgia and Melancholia. And after this project, I continued my books showing a sort of an Oriental side of mine.
Okay.
My Oriental, Balkan, and Byzantine side of mine, which is very strong. It's really very strong in myself. I started this side in my poetry. I have poems impregnated with the atmosphere of the Balkans, with everything that we know, the people who live here. We know very well. We have common myths, a common history, a common state of mind. So I started it with my poems, with The Levant, which is also a poem. It's a very long poem, written in Alexandrians, actually. And I went on with this project by writing Thodoros. Thodoros is a continuation and I would say culmination of this trend, of this Oriental side of mine. My ancestors, as far as I know them, so my parents and my grandparents were people of the earth. They were peasants, simple peasants. But I have always felt that my previous ancestors were people of the sea. I have always felt that they were mariners. They were, well, hundreds of years before they were mariners, they were pirates, they were people of the sea. And it's so strange that one of my first memories, since I was a very small child, 2 years or 2 years and a half old, was that one of the neighbors of my parents, where we lived, had a model of a ship with sails, you know, a sort of, I don't know, o navă cu pânze, nu?
Da, corab să splotna, знае ги тези корабчета, които...
When I saw it, I was 2 years and a half. When I saw that model made of wood, I knew what it was. I knew, from the first time I knew it was a sailing ship, you know? And I see, all the time I had dreams, and I still have dreams taking place on the seas. And what's interesting, well, it's a little mysticism here. I apologize for it. But a few years ago, I had the fancy to make myself that DNA test, you know?
Yes.
I sent some probes in the States, and the answer came back. And to my astonishment, my ancestors were Greek.
Okay.
I have a very strong Greek ancestry, so it's no wonder that I have always been fascinated with the Greek archipelago. All my vacations I spend in Greece, on different islands, and so on. So maybe from this very strong inner dream, in a way, Thodoros flourished. Thodoros emerged.
2 very quick questions with quick answers. You can answer as quickly as you want. Thodoros is, as you yourself defined it, as a pseudo-historical novel, and there all the dreams, the visions, the myths and fantasies, they defy the dictatorship of reality. What I really liked reading was his letters to his mom, because they were just full of lies. But does it really matter in this narrative? Does it matter at all what's so-called real and what's imagined?
Well, what I hate most
I believe them equally.
is that Thodoros is considered a historical novel. It's not a historical novel. It's at most a pseudo-historical novel, or a contrafactual historical novel. When I was writing it, I was very attentive to make lots of how you call them?
You can say it in Romanian.
Just a minute.
Okay.
Anachronisms, to spread anachronisms everywhere, just to make my public aware of the fact that actually it's not reality there. It's not history.
It's more like a fairy tale.
Or in a way, it is reality, but it's also fantasy, like on the 2 faces of a Möbius band, you know, which actually has only 1 face. So you never know when reality ends and when fantasy starts. They just flow from each other, you know.
They have this equal status, of believing them.
I was very attentive. Yes, I was very attentive to make transparent words, not with the opacity of history, but also not with the absolutely flu of pure fantasy. Something in between reality and dreams. And I think this continuity is best expressed by those characters which I discovered that were real. They were real, but actually they shouldn't exist. They shouldn't have existed. Like Abraham Norton, the Emperor of the United States. Nobody would believe that such a character actually existed. He was real, but in a way he was invented. In a way he shouldn't have existed. because of the craziness of this character. Or stories like the story of the giraffe, which was sent from Africa to Paris, which is also a fantastic story, but it was also factual. It existed. It happened. So I was very, very much interested in this in-between. This in-between. Part history, part contrafactual things. And to give this impression of pure and absolute reality, but at the same time virtual reality, fantastic reality, I did my best to make this in-between reality. It is and it isn't. And I did my best, sorry, just a moment, to be very realistic in the historical details. So all the details are absolutely real, verified, no matter if there are details from the life in Jerusalem 3,000 years ago, or the life in Ethiopia or in Wallachia, or at the court of Queen Victoria. Everything is absolutely certain and verified.
Okay. Yeah, I've read that you even checked you were interested in what they ate, how they dressed, and so on. In relation to this topic of real and virtual, philosophical question, would you agree that we can view memory as a form of imagination?
Yes, memory actually is not what happened. What happened is very different from memory. Memory is the color that we give to what happened. So a historical memory, let's say, when like the French Revolution, for example, or like the Napoleon wars. Well, they were and they weren't. There's a passage in Stendhal in one of his novels where a soldier from the Napoleon times takes part in a battle, but he doesn't know where he doesn't know anything but what he sees and what he experiences in his very little universe. He doesn't know that he takes part in the Austerlitz battle or other things. Only the historians in hundreds of years or in decades created this battle. They created the battle. The battle didn't exist actually. It's a postmodern view of history. The history didn't exist. We invent it. Mm-hmm. We create it. It's the same with memories. I think I have memories from my childhood, but they are strongly deformed, skewed, and colored by who I am now. It's the same with the history in Thodoros. It happened and it didn't happen. Some of it was real, certified by the historians, but some of it has to be myself, the image of myself. So I projected my image on the plan of history.
Fear is, I specifically saw it, how many times it appears in this novel, but not only in this novel, always goes with fear of God, of course, not always, but you describe fear as the essential feeling of reality, as like the substance of existence. Can you tell us a little bit more on your view on fear, and is Thodoros, like we say in Bulgarian, Thodoros, I don't know how you pronounce it, is he afraid, or is his sin actually the fact that he has no fear, that he just does things, that he has no fear of God?
Well, if we consider Thodoros a real character, and we might do that because he really existed at least until he was 19 when he disappeared from Wallachia. If we consider him like a real character, we can think about his psychology, we can try to understand his reasons for everything that he did, and we have the liberty to consider him an archetype, the archetype of the tyrant, the dictator, the tyrant, who does everything he can to climb higher and higher, stepping on bodies, on dead bodies, and doing awful things. So you can see him like the embodiment of the tyrant, as the South American writers described their dictators, in the works of Garcia Marquez, in Vargas Llosa, Roa Bastos, and so on. And I was interested in doing this profile of a tyrant. He is, from the very beginning, haunted. He is haunted by only one very strong obsession, the obsession of power. The will is the most important side of this character. He wants to become an emperor. He knows that from his childhood, and he, not only that he wants, but he knows, he has a premonition. He knows that he will become an emperor at the end of many adventures. And at the end, he fulfills this huge desire that he has to be the most important person in the world, in a way. What is interesting is that he's not, when he becomes a real emperor in Abyssinia, in Ethiopia, he is not pleased with that. He would climb even higher. He would become God himself. And if he became God, he wouldn't have been pleased also. He wanted an even higher throne. So it's an asymptotic, maddening ambition of climbing higher and higher, on becoming huger and huger, on identifying himself with the universe. It's like in an old story of mine where a character becomes the whole universe. We can have this vision, but I think it would be limitative for this character, because I didn't want to make him a tyrant. I wanted to make him a complex, round character with a good side and with a bad side, a living character.
Каква е думата за житие?
Това е трудна дума. Биография, но...
I'm looking for the word for...
Sacral biography.
Sacred biography of a saint, like hagiography maybe, something
yes.
like... I read it more like this, like a hagiography of an anti-saint, like a Bildungsroman of a fallen angel, because his material wishes are very soon much more than that. They're already existential.
Yes.
He wants to
go
to
right.
God. And in this sense, this can we read this desire for greatness beyond all moral categories of good and evil, of right
yes.
and wrong?
Yes, at a certain moment he is called the opposite. The opposite.
The opposite.
So
yes.
It's like in the Christology,
yes.
Christ has an opposite in Antichrist, and God himself has an opposite in the devil, in the diabolus, so that means opposite. So he's himself and at the same time the opposite of himself. He has multiple personality in a way. Yes. And I was very, very much impressed of a fact. Immediately after I published in Romanian this book, a very old and very much respected writer that we had, Radu Cosașu, just called me on the phone. He was about 90. He called me on the phone and told me, I read your book after 1 week. I read your book and I have to congratulate you for one fact, that your character is a complete non-manichaeist character. So you cannot see him in black and white. Mm-hmm. So he is what he is. He is a block, a psychological block and a metaphysical block. So I was very attentive to make him a credible character, in a way. Fantastic in other way, but a credible one. So I wanted to make him a man who also loves humanity in a way, who has a impressive love for his mother, so yes, for his roots, and I was very pleased to write the 7 letters to the mother, and a man who had a rich erotic life, who was in love forever with
Stamotina.
Yes, with his platonic lover from his youth, who had other impressive loves along his life. So I wanted to make him more human than he looks at the first sight.
It's exactly what I actually wrote an article, maybe the first one, because I read it before it even came, it should be published today, saying exactly this, and the fact that even when you see him, even in his most beastly form, you empathize with him. You're capable of feeling for him, and it's done through your language and the point of view, which makes us close to him.
Yes, he's at the same time repulsive, disgusting, but also I was very amused of him. Sometimes he's funny. Sometimes he...
Yes.
Well, for example, when he writes to Queen Victoria, he writes her crazy things. The Queen is amused with his stories. So he's half naive, half, I don't know, primitive character.
When he wrote, I was very laughing when he wrote about the poems and the poetry like some drug that you're taking. That is really... yes, and even at the end of times, the angels, after all this, they're ready to fight, for very physical fight, by the way. It was very sensual, very physical, all this, for his soul. But what would amount to salvation? What is salvation? I remember this when they sent your protagonist from Solenoid to the world of mites, and he just came back and nothing happened, because what could be salvation? What, like, just to wash them away, to send them somewhere else? Mm-hmm. What could amount to salvation? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
This is the next layer of my novel. So I would say that at the middle of it is this axis mundi, which is my character, Thodoros. Mm-hmm. But actually, the flesh of the novel is around him. I was more interested to describe the 4 or 5 or 6 words which turn around this axis than the character of Thodoros himself. So I was very happy to create worlds, and I needed a frame for this, a framework for this book. So I thought of the biggest books of humanity, which are also have always the same shape. So the world is seen that a three-layered world. So there is the layer of the humanity at the middle. It's the world of the gods above, and the world of evil spirits, demons beneath. So it's a tripartite world, like in the medieval view of it. You see the same world in the Iliad, in Homer's Iliad, where the gods interfere with the battles and so on. You see the same in Divina Commedia. You see the same in Faust by Goethe, which has a prologue in the sky, and so on. So I was very amused to think that the world of Thodoros is the same. There is a place of gods and a place of demons, and they dispute, like in the Christian religion, they dispute the soul of my main character. They just push and pull him towards the hell and towards the paradise.
Do you want to save him?
I get there very soon.
Okay.
So, and of course, the story is told by the seven archangels, which see it from above, and it's the consequence. It's awful for me. Was awful for me. The consequence was that I had to tell the story at the second person, which is very rare. There are only very few books written like that. And to keep the second person on 600 pages is crazy. Yes. It's madness from a writer's point of view, and maybe from a reader's point of view. It's very hard to support this addressing, which seems quite unnatural. You know, the first person and the third are usual, but the second is hard to bear. So I made this carcass, this theological carcass of the book, which amused me very much, because I love to write like the old maestros, you know, and everything in the book pointed to the final judgment. Where my character would be judged. It's the book of Thodoros. Actually, what the archangels give to God, that report that they give to God, is my novel itself. God reads my novel, actually. But here comes the surprise. God had to take a decision. In our view, God is a judge, the supreme judge. He will have to do something with the character, to send him to heaven or to hell. But the surprise is that God refuses to judge. He doesn't judge. He doesn't judge anyone. He just gets the report from the angels and read it like a book, like a novel. He is sometimes amused, sometimes indignated, sometimes he laughs, sometimes he weeps, he cries, but doesn't judge. The book is for his pleasure. Because we all do the same. We do not judge the characters in a novel. We do not judge Emma Bovary, for example.
No,
we just get amused and get passionate with her story.
Actually, I just wanted to ask you exactly this question about God being not the judge, but the reader who just has to decide if anything is to be decided according to the thrill of the story. But you answered already.
So, as you asked me, the redemption, the salvation, is the pleasure of reading.
Pleasure of reading.
Yeah. If you don't get this pleasure, you send Thodoros to hell. If you love the book, you send it to paradise.
So it's the judgment of the reader. I find one idea very contradictory in you, and I can never decide where you stand on this. It's about the free will, because on the one hand, and it's not just in this book, on the one hand, you said that Thodoros was born bad. You say that everything was written in a way that not a hair can fall from a hair in advance. So this is fate, this is preordination. Nothing can change what's written ages ago. On the other hand, you believe in people, I don't know, is it quantum theory? Is it just alternative universes of people just changing themselves every next decision they make, every next moment they become someone else, which is exercising their free will. So is this a contradiction between two views, or where do you stand on that? It's all written, or total free will?
This is one of the most important philosophical question, and ethical, of course, question. I don't think any philosopher solved this conundrum. I don't really know in the real life if we have free will or not. We can judge the determinism in two ways. In a mechanical way, where the demon of Laplace knows everything that happens in a moment of history, and then he can foretell the future, because he knows the place, the position of each and every particle at present, and he knows the laws of physics. So nothing can change. The world heads towards what it is meant to head.
Yes.
But this is a mechanical way of seeing things. But the quantum way, in the quantum theory, it's completely different, because there is no determinism, no mechanical determinism. Everything can be anywhere. It's statistic. It's not pure mechanic determinism. So the quantic determinism is very different. So each and every minute change in only one particle could change everything.
Yes.
Could change everything. Henry James has a very nice story. It's a young man who goes in front of a door and hesitates if he should open the door and get inside his boss's office, or he shouldn't. After 20 years, two very different people meet, and they are the one who opened the door and the one who didn't open it. They became very different persons. So determinism is a very hard philosophical problem. A book is a deterministic block or object, because whenever you open the book, the characters act the same. Like in a movie, you don't get to a movie for the second time to see another ending.
Yes.
It's the same every time. So a book is a frozen life. So there's no determinism. The character acts like he acted when you first read the book, if you reread it. So there's no free will of the character. But at the same time, you can imagine that a book is not only continuity of letters and words and so on. A book is recreated by each and every reader. So no reader reads the same book. From this point of view, the character evolves, changes, because they change in the reader's mind. So he has free will. He has a possibility to change, to be interpreted in a way or another. So the code is the same for everyone. The code is the body of the book. But each and every reader interprets the code in other ways.
It's just different when, like you say in the book, I think somewhere you say that free will, believing, and it's sin. It's equals to sin because it's exercising yourself, and we have one life, one God, one judgment, and that's it. And
I see what you mean. In the book, I reiterate a phrase from the Bible, where God, Jehovah, tells the Jewish people that they shouldn't have free will. They shouldn't do whatever they want, because God gave them the law which is deterministic.
Yes.
It's the will of God. So there's another theological problem. It's called theodiceea. The theodiceea is the attempt of the philosophers and theologists to save God in a way, to show that the evil in the world is justified, that God justified, he's not guilty from the evil. And Immanuel Kant, in a famous article, said that there's you cannot save God. You cannot solve the problem of evil in the world. And this is it. It's a hard theological thing.
We're not going to solve it. Listen, you put a very specific date on the end of times in your book. Do you see the end signs, the signs of the end nowadays, in the way we live, in the way we invent things? Do you see any of these signs, to put it so close, literally 20 years from now?
I think we are living now in a period of history where millenarism is very, very strong. Many people have this feeling that the history will end very soon. And we have reasons to think of that. Lots of reasons. The wars that we see around us, the emergence of the artificial intelligence, the ecological catastrophes, and many others. Like in the medieval times, our contemporaries think that the end of history should be near, should be very close, not from theological reasons, but from practical, historical reasons. So I feel this approaching of the end of history very strongly. I feel it very strongly now, and I try to express it in my book, which, of course, it ends with an apocalypse. It ends with the end of the world and the final judgment. So I had to put an end to, at least to the history within my book, in a precise period. And I made some maybe subconscious calculations, and I decided that I have only other 17 years to live, which is good for me, but not for my son, not for my daughter, not for my grandson, and so on. So I decided, I don't know why, actually, I hope I won't be a prophet, that the end of the world will come in 2041. In the very day when my character was born. Well, actually, it's the end of my novel, not of the world. It's the end of the history in my novel. It's the end of the novel, which, like any world, should contain a big bang and a big crunch, you know, to be complete.
Yes.
So I thought that the end of the world should take place in Jerusalem, where everything began, should take place in 2041, which is reasonable, I think.
With artificial intelligence developing so quickly, maybe.
Yes, and that nobody will be condemned, that everyone will be among the saved ones.
One of the things today that I see is the deficit of truth. It's all about viewpoints. It's not about truth, it's about viewpoints, it's about fake news, it's about fragments of opinions. Are there still any undeniable truths today left in the world that we can say, that's it, that's a truth, and it can't be the way God was in the Middle Ages?
You know, this is something that is always on my mind, about the hard values in this world, because the postmodern theory says that all the values are soft, so they are decided among people. There is nothing which is valuable in itself and forever. Everything is decided, is negotiated. But I believe also in hard values. I don't agree with the postmodern philosophy, with Batimo and other philosophers. I think that everything that hurts you is a real value. Pain is what decides between what is real and what is not real. When you feel pain, you have to do with real things. For example, when you dream and you have the feeling that you dream, you pinch yourself, you know, for deciding if you dream or not. Yes. If it hurts, you are in the reality. If it doesn't hurt, you are in a dream. So pain is the only, in my opinion, and this was the philosophy that underlied solenoid. It's real only what it hurts. And of course, not only physical pain, yes. Beauty can hurt you, love can hurt you, and so on. So there are things that, in my opinion, are really real, truth. In a real world. Even if we live in a dream or in a fiction or in a simulation or in virtual reality, if we have that goggles of virtual reality, we can see things that do not exist. But if somebody put a pin in your skin, you feel it and you know that actually you are in the reality, you are still in the reality. This is the difference. And this is the difference in Thodoros too. What hurts, what is painful is real. And I only have the wish that from time to time the reader can feel this pain of beauty, this pain of imagination, this pain of empathy, and so on.
So pain is the undeniable truth. Okay, that's beautiful in itself. One of the most beautiful metaphors for me was this worms, this ship worms. I'm not sure how it translates.
Yeah.
Which they kind of like bought and they put deliberately into the ships so the ships can sink.
Yeah.
This is an amazing metaphor, like the song of transience, of decay, of mortality.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any mortality? This transience of life is a very big topic, I feel, in your writing in general. Do you have any recipe for it, for the transience of life, for the passing of time?
Those worms are also real. So there are, there really exist those 2 meter long worms which live inside the wood of the ships.
Yes.
The old ships, they had this kind of worms and they ate it. They ate them. It's in the 19th century when a ship was very old and they put it on the sand and dismantled them, they took those worms and ate them. It's history, it's reality. I've seen a documentary on that. But I had the idea that they could sink because they just eat the wood inside the ships. So this can be a metaphor of the hybrid character of my book, half real, half imagination. Mm-hmm. About mortality and immortality, this is also a hard problem, and I can only speak now from a narrator's point of view, from a writer's point of view. A writer always hopes that his book is immortal. And in the older times, I mean 20 years ago or 30 years ago, not quite old, all the writers had hopes that they will be part of the history of literature. So they they had a paradise in the future. They thought, all of them, even the very bad writers, they thought that if nobody understands them and they have no success today, in a few generations they will be discovered and the people will start to praise them and they will become a myth, everybody will read them in the posterity. And they wanted to be part of the literary histories and so on. This myth completely disappeared today. So there's no future for writers. There's no literary histories anymore. The writers can rely only on the success of today, now and here and now. So the books lost this aura of immortality. The books became everyday commodities. You read one of them, then you throw it, you read another one. The literary corpus is not a system anymore. Nobody built cathedrals from books like the old and the great critics did. We don't have criticism now. And the writers took away from their paradise. So like Adam and Eve, you know, in the old times. So now they have to work the land and give birth in pains. This is the fate of the writer, of the creator now, of the artist now, and this is very tragic in my opinion. They do not have any hope to survive their world, their epoch, and so on. This is important because it has consequences in the way of writing of the books. The writers are not nu mai sunt atât de nu mai sunt atât de concentrați pe ceea ce fac.
Не са толкова съсредоточени върху това, което правят.
Да.
They do not want to
Не са толкова отдадени на това, което правят.
They do not want to create immortal masterpieces anymore. They just want to impress some readers, to sell books, to be in tops, to get prizes, and to be some celebrities of one day or of one season. Everything changed in the arts now, and I think the best symbol of the arts in our days is that banana which is sticked on the wall with a plastic tape.
And you can eat, which he did actually.
And yes, you eat it, you enjoy it, and,
and that's it.
This was that.
Yeah. Okay, this was actually the final question. I just remembered while you're talking this separation between the professional player and Efimov, was it? From Efimov, from Solenoid. Like it's this difference in a way that actually I think we should put an end to it because I see you're tired. I just had a few other marks like this idea of the doppelganger of exchanging places, which is also very interesting because it's been used in many other big novels, like from Esau and Jacob in the Bible, exchanging to Mark Twain, like with the Prince and the Pauper. But you also use it when this was very interesting. And also about the fact that he was in a way driven from love, because from love denied, this love for Stomatina, this whole search could be said that it was because of it, because of this love, which is another thing to justify him for. And one last note, I told you Ivan Stankov has done an amazing job to this rich, this sumptuous, this erotic in a way language that you have with all this scientific Cartarescuan, like I call them, words. He just brilliantly transferred it in Bulgarian, so it's a pleasure to read.
I'm absolutely sure that Ivan did the best translation possible.
Yeah.
Of course, which this is something that the critics usually don't see and don't remark. Is that actually a book lives from each and every page, from the texture of each and every page. It's a linguistic object. The most important thing for me was the use of the language. There are lots of registers here, from the language of the Bible to the language of each and every professional worker in
sciences,
all over the world, the way the people talk, the way the narrator talks, and so on. And I think this is the most important thing in my book. Everything lives very strongly in a linguistic flood in the original, in Romanian. In Romanian, it's I don't think it's possible to squeeze the Romanian language more than I did. Of course, maybe because the Bulgarian shares with the Romanian not only the language but the whole life in our region. Maybe some flashes, some highlights of this very complex language could be saved
Yes.
in Bulgarian, but in other languages it's almost impossible.
In English, I think it's impossible. It's
almost
just very
impossible
flat.
because I think 80% of the words that I use are not Romanian words. Actual Romanian words are modified in a way to correspond the 19th century language, to correspond to the biblical language, and so on. Each word, each phrase, each syntagm is modified, and is modified considering my way of feeling language. So this book is carved in the Romanian language, and it's very hard to take it out from there. This is why I praise very much the work of the translators, because despite this impossibility to translate this kind of language, all the versions that I have right now, I mean the French, the Italian, the German, and the Spanish and the Bulgarian ones, were very much praised by the critics. Very much. It's my most successful book ever. This means that the translators were doing a very good job.
Yeah, it's real carving. Mirca, I thank you very much.
Thank you so
I think
much.
I exhausted you, but it's a lot of questions. I mean, I had 2 more pages. I just cut them down. So thank you very much for the patience and for the big answers. I'll see you tonight. Тази вечер 6:30, да. You will be.
I would love to have a copy, an electronic copy of this interview when it is published.
Yeah, I just have to translate it into.
Yeah, of course. You have some work to do now.